Yo, what is good, YouTube? Krishan checking back in with another video. In the first update of the day, we have some recent updates from Charles Griffen, and wow. Charles said last time he was at the Mr. Olympia, he was just happy to be there, but this year he's definitely coming to take names. And Matt Jansen said Charles is up 15 pounds from the Cali Pro, and it looks like he's going to bring similar condition to Cali or maybe even better. Do you guys think Charles Griffen could find himself within that top 10? And prior to Charles learning how to execute the vacuum, the front relax, the front double, and the front lat were probably his worst poses. And I can tell you guys right now, all three of those poses are almost knockout for Charles Griffen now. He's made some serious improvements. Now, people still knock Charles Griffen for pulling the vacuum, but guys with wider midsections have been pulling vacuums in bodybuilding for a very long time. But he does hit the traditional ab and thigh before going into the vacuum. Now, switching over to Derek Lunsford, we have recent updates from him. And I think we're going to see a completely different version of Derek Lunsford at this year's Olympia than what we saw in the 212 division. And I'm not just talking about Derek Lunsford being a little bit bigger. As I mentioned before, when he dieted down to 212, we didn't see much detail in the upper body. But almost every update I see going into this year's Olympia, Derek is looking like a completely new man. Let me know in the comment section below, where do you guys see Derek Lunsford placing at this year's Mr. Olympia? Now, in the next update of the day, we have a recent update from good Vito. If I'm not mistaken, he should be going for his pro card next weekend. And I don't think Vito will have a problem earning his pro card, but he will not be able to qualify for this year's Olympia. The last qualification was Romania. But since Vito will already be in shape, it's possible that he does hop into a pro show to attempt to qualify for next year. But then again, it would be his third show of the year, so maybe he just shuts it down. Now, switching over to Brett Wilkin, he's about 1 week out from the big man weekend, and he actually got to train with the legend Dorian Yates. And I want to give credit to Brett Wilkin and Matt Jansen, because Brett is definitely pushing the conditioning for this show, but also maintaining a good amount of size. As we've seen this season in specific with Mark Hector, the more he competed, he pushed conditioning, but it also seems like he was losing muscle mass. We can arguably say that Andrew Jack pushed conditioning for the Arnold Classic UK and lost a bit of muscle mass as well. But Brett looks pretty good right here. Now, switching over to James Hollingshead, this is an update from him about 2 days ago. And it's always hard for me to gauge how big James Hollingshead really is because he's a taller guy. Similar to Steve Kuklo, maybe even Samson Dowda, the taller guys don't look as good in pictures as they will look in person. But for James to be a bigger guy, he definitely has some pretty good proportions. Now, in my last video, I said in specific, James looked a little bit smaller throughout the delts and the traps, and it looks like he's definitely filling up. And the Mr. Olympia will be the third show of the year for James Hollingshead. He was pretty good at the Arnold UK. I think he was even better at Tsunami, so hopefully we see the best of him at this year's Olympia. Now, switching over to Antione Vaillant, these are recent updates from him. I believe Antoine is also going to bring his best to this year's Olympia, and I think he tore both biceps, but they still look pretty good. Overall, Antoine looks a little bit bigger from earlier this year and also seems like he's going to bring that crazy conditioning and detail. And every time I talk about Antoine, I have to mention, this guy brings a lot of energy to the stage and really draws eyes to his physique. Now, switching over to Justin Rodriguez, these are recent updates from him. Now, I wouldn't too much worry about Justin's conditioning. He's a guy that changes really fast. And to me, from this update, Justin's legs look a little bit bigger. I would say it was after a leg day, but I don't think he would have this much separation. Overall, I honestly think he looks pretty good, just a little bit downsized than earlier this year. Now, switching over to Classic Physique, we have a recent physique update from Terrence Ruffin. And the first thing I noticed about this update is Terrence Ruffin is definitely bigger than what he was at this year's Arnold Classic. Second thing I noticed, as I mentioned before, Terrence has some of the craziest glute hamstring tie-ins I've ever seen in my life. Going into this year's Mr. Olympia, I'm honestly very excited to see his posing routine. We haven't really seen any great posing routines this year, but I think Terrence Ruffin is a lock for being in their top 2. Chris Bumstead is improved, Terrence Ruffin is improved. Ramon Urs, almost everyone is improved. It's definitely going to be a good Classic Physique Mr. Olympia, but I don't see anyone beating Terrence outside of Chris. Now, switching over to Logan Franklin, these are recent updates from him, and wow. This is the best I've ever seen Logan Franklin look. Now, he wasn't at last year's Mr. Olympia. He came up a little bit short with the 2nd place at the Texas Pro, but Logan actually earned his qualification at the Sean Ray Hawaiian Classic that was after the Mr. Olympia. So Logan has had close to a full year off to improve. He also works with Milo Sarchev. I think we're going to see the best Logan Franklin at this year's Olympia. And let's not forget that Logan Franklin was 3rd at the 2021 Arnold Classic. right behind Terrence Ruffin and Alex Cambronero, and he actually won the Best Poser award at that show over Terrence Ruffin, so I'm also looking forward to Logan's routine as well. Now switching over to some very interesting news courtesy of Buys and Tries. For me, this is very big news. Andrea Shaw, Sydney Gillen, and Whitney Jones have all teamed up to create the Triple O Dynasty Pro-Am. This show will be in the spring of 2024 and will feature Olympia qualifications for 3 different women's divisions and will also be a national qualifier for NPC. Very big things going on in the world of women's bodybuilding. Sarah Villegas also does a lot for those women as well. And ending this video here with the archive of the day, one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time. You guys let me know in the comment section below who is this. As always, I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Krishan from Go Fitness, and that's it. I'm out.